This is Unboxed by Aramex, a podcast series of compelling stories and cultural perspectives. And now this time, it's a bit of a local legend here in Dubai, a professional voice actor, an impressionist, and a comedian. From famous movie stars to beloved animated icons, Ellie Iskandar has a knack for bringing your favourite characters to life. Ellie, welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
You see, what you do fascinates me. Voice acting fascinates me. I come from a radio background, so I'm used to hearing, my own voice in headphones. But voice acting isn't a skill that I have, aside from Matthew McConaughey's right, the standard thing. That's all I can do. When did it hit you? I can mimic people here. I could use this. When did it start?
Well, I'm an only child, so I grew up without any brothers or sisters. So naturally, I'm going to talk to myself.
Sure.
But it did start when I was around 8 years old. And it's a funny story because I went to my neighbor's house and I brought her some food because she used to live alone. And she's an old lady who had a very gruff voice. And when I got there, she called me by my pet name. My name is Ellie, but the pet name is Lillo in Lebanon. Okay. And she said, "Lillo, habibi. Come here, let me kiss you." And it scared the living bejesus out of me. So I went back home and I told my mom, and she was like, "Okay, you sound like our neighbor." And that kind of came out like a throat kind of voice. And then I discovered that I can go really high with my voice. So I can kind of change and shift anywhere in between these two brackets. And I was an only child, like I said, so I'd mute the TV, do the voices that are on the channels, and go from there.
See, I was going to make an observation with you. What I've noticed, and I've watched quite a lot of you, I've kind of stalked you over the last few days, to be honest, online. But lots of Simpsons in your life.
I love The Simpsons.
Quite a lot of Star Wars in your life, I've noticed as well. Naturally, really.
You're going to laugh. I've never seen Star Wars. I've seen parodies of Star Wars. I know all about Star Wars. I know the stories. I know the characters. I know their voices. I haven't seen the films.
You should be ashamed.
I know. I'm very ashamed of mine. And if people like those who like the impressions, they're going to hate me for this because I've never seen the films.
But you do, though. I mean, the Darth Vader. And, all of that. Okay. And there was another one that I noticed, and I'm hoping you'll chip in with this now in a way, because I loved this as a kid growing up. Lots of Scooby-Doo as well.
Yes. I love Scooby-Doo. It was one of the first voices that I tried to kind of mimic. And I'm going to push the mic away because it's very loud.
Yeah.
It was like Zoink Scoob. It just goes up and down. Reggie. It was really fun. I mean, we grew up in the 90s and you'd listen to, Popeye and olive oil. And you'd listen to these characters, right. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Hey, Boo Boo. Yes, Yogi. It was really fun doing those voices as a kid.
It was interesting watching you over the weekend because I guess I'm 15, 20 years older than you. I'm not going to ask your age. I would never do that. But, these are things that I grew up with as a kid in the 70s and 80s that you were watching, I guess, on TV in Lebanon a few years after that.
I think we got these a little later in Lebanon.
Yeah, okay.
I think we got Pepsi by 2014. I'm joking. I mean, but the TV was a little later than usual. And we would watch... and we would watch these cartoons growing up, and it was really, it shaped my childhood. I'm French educated, but I have a neutral American accent because of watching these shows. I grew up watching The Simpsons. I know
the transatlantic accent.
Yeah, the transatlantic.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's we call it neutral in voiceovers because they don't know what to call it, what else to call it. But yeah, we grew up watching these shows, and they shaped our childhood, and spending a lot of time because we didn't have a lot of, I'm an introvert, so I stay at home. I wouldn't go out, play outside in the dirt. I would just be at home with my action figures that I would give voices and characters to and sound effects to, and have fun with them. And I would watch TV.
So, I mean, a lot of it is living in your head, isn't it? And I've heard you say a few times, in fact, 3 or 4 times, you talk about the voices in your head, which is not,
it's not clinical insanity.
No, it's just you, it's just the way you are. And I guess as an introvert, looking for stuff to bring you out of yourself?
I mean, this is something that fascinates my wife, is that how I can just sit there and do nothing for hours. And she's like, aren't you bored? Don't you want to go out? Don't you want to do anything outside? Go have fun with your friends. I'm like, nope, I'm happy. Like I can sit for hours facing a wall and just go into conversations with I'm driving by myself on the road and I do like, hey, Morty, what are you doing, Morty? Oh, geez, Rick, I don't know what to do here with this traffic, Rick. I'm just talking to myself the whole way, the whole road. And I would record them sometimes as voice notes, and I would just send them to my friends, and they're just like, come on, leave us alone. Stop sending me voices. And it's really fun.
Doing nothing is one of the greatest things in the world, and more people should do it, because the ability to do nothing is kind of the ultimate mindfulness, I think. Just sit at peace with yourself. I'm completely with you. One of the things, and you kind of demonstrated it there, is your range from the really deep, like deepest possible bass to the highest possible treble. Break down the process. So you're 8 years old, you're sat there watching TV, doing voices. How do you practice it? How do you pitch it? How do you learn to do it?
I mean, some of it just comes to you naturally. You feel that you can do that voice. Right. I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, I listen to it. I'm like, okay, I can do that voice. I'll try it out. I'll listen to the playback and then I tweak it to kind of like, okay, this is what. So, for example, like someone like Morgan Freeman has multiple layers to their voice where you need to practice and train to do their voice. But others are just in a certain range, and some of them are closer to your vocal range, so it's easier to do their voices. A good example would be, the first time I was doing this, it started off as an impression. I was listening to a radio station in Lebanon, and I just heard the guy go, Mix FM. That voice, that was Dave Fox. I don't know if you know Dave Fox. He's a legend in the US. He does WC, what is it called? Z100, New York, one of the biggest stations.
I wouldn't have known the name, but I know the voice.
Yeah. The guy made a beautiful living off of it. And I did an impression of him, and I sent him a voice off of my, those stick mics that you have for gaming. I was like, Mix FM. And I was 16 years old, and I sent it to him, and he responded. He's like, kid, you've got the pipes. Go for it. And that was like the little push I needed that I can do this for a living. I can just record and do voices and make money off of that. It was fascinating to me. And then later finding out that The Simpsons was essentially voiced by like 2 or 3 guys. Like Dan Castellaneta does 37 voices. Yep. Harry Shearer, Hank Azaria, same. Each and every one of them does 25, 30 voices on The Simpsons. And it was like, just a lot of playfulness, testing, trial and error. And fun.
So you decide at what age? At 16, you get the kind of push from Dave Fox.
16, I started recording. That's it. When I sent him the voice note, the test that I did, he was like, go for it. And I just started finding sample scripts, recording less than a year later, I was doing university radio stations in the US.
Wow.
Doing commercials for them, also from the cheap $20 microphone, and they would process the hell out of them and they would just put them out there. And I built a little career out of it. And I would put my samples online. They would get me to more studios and so on and so forth.
So it turned into a business quite early then, didn't it?
Yes.
Wow.
And I started recording from Lebanon to anywhere in the world. A lot of it was also for Dubai. Even before moving here or considering moving here, I was recording little commercials for some minor brands here. And once I moved here, I met all the studios. I did my rounds, like, hey guys, this is who I am, this is what I do. And it picked up since. Now I have sometimes 3-4 recordings a day, depends on the day, sometimes 1 or 2. Sometimes none, but I mean, it's the business.
So, I mean, I was watching you over the last few days. I've watched a little bit of you, and then your voice twigged with a few ads that I've heard constantly. And it's, I don't know if I can mention I suppose I can, but you were the Talabat guy.
Yeah. Talabat, your everyday right away. That's the annoying voice you hear on YouTube when you're waiting to skip an ad. That's my voice.
It's remarkable, and I've heard it so many times, and I've never. So now that's all come together. What else have you done that
I've
people
done
might?
Nissan. Most of the Nissan ads, I did the Patrol launch, and if you go even to the showroom in Nissan and you do the virtual tour, it's in my voice, English and Arabic, and I've done the Nissan Patrol, defy ordinary. You know, that kind of deep voice, funny voice. I've done McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut. I have a list of them, but I mean, it's a few good names. I've done a lot of car brands but I mean, I give each car its unique tone so that they don't sound alike. So that's the fun part of being an impressionist who can do voiceovers at the same time. You can shift your voice a little bit and sound different.
Well, I was going to say, it's like typecasting as an actor, isn't it? You've got to be able to change the timbre of your voice or the tone of your voice.
And the way you read as well, your cadence, everything has to shift.
It's fascinating. It really is. Let's talk a little bit about the celebrities that you do, because most, I guess, impressionists do certain celebrities. And you hear it all the time. You hear the De Niro's and the Arnies and that kind of thing. Who's the easiest to do? Who could kind of anybody do? Somebody watching this wants to do who?
That's a very interesting question. I've never thought of it. Who's the easiest to do out of these? I would guess if you can get your voice down or low, an easy voice would be Sylvester Stallone's voice, because it's almost entirely made out of gravel.
And he slurs a lot, doesn't he? It kind of all rolls.
It's very. I think a lot of people can do. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's very easy to do. You just have to open your throat up a bit, and you get down, do it again. Get to the chopper. And it's just.
I love that get to the chopper line. That always gets me.
That's the iconic line that everybody's familiar with. It's kind of like when you're doing Darth Vader. I find your lack of faith disturbing. You know?
I love it. Well, James Earl Jones. Classic. Who's the hardest to do? Have you ever tried to do a voice and just thought, I'm not going to get this. I can't do it?
I mean, look, if there's nothing very unique about a certain voice, it's much more difficult to get it or to nail it. But in terms of complexity, as like how many levels there's Morgan Freeman would be one of the more difficult ones to do. The Joker, but Mark Hamill's Joker, the one in the cartoons, because it's slow and high at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've heard him do his voice. It's very
haven't. No, I haven't.
Sorry, because I need to go a little down. So he goes here. So he said, he sounds like this. It's very deep, gravelly, but at the same time, it's high-pitched. Oh, Batsy, how are you, Batsy? It's very difficult to do it. It's very, like it takes a lot of effort to do that voice.
Right.
And Morgan Freeman's voice, you have to think of a few things to get to his, so there's the gravel, which is to explain to people who don't know what gravel is, it's this, that's the vibrations.
Right in the back of
on the back of your throat. And then you have to have, he's a little bit nasal when he speaks. He speaks nasally.
Yeah, gotcha.
So you have to add these two together. And then you have to add a little bit of a lisp, because he has the S's, you can kind of pick up on it. It's very minor, small, not big. And then you go up and down with his voice, the intonation, and then you add the Mississippi accent, and you end up sounding like Morgan Freeman. Ever since I played God in the movies, people mistook me for him. You know, this guy, and you have to play with how he talks and how he would phrase things or change things.
That's amazing, because so many impressionists do Arnie, they do Sly. Who else? Matthew McConaughey, Pacino, Robert De Niro. Morgan Freeman is the one. And I'm just going to put you on the spot here a little bit, just to get your opinion. I have a favorite. I'm a sad, lonely man who should get out more, I think. But I have a favorite impressionist. His name's Josh Robert Thompson. You know him.
Josh Robert Thompson, man.
We talked briefly about him.
One of the people that I really thoroughly enjoy watching him do his craft. Yeah. He also does an amazing McConaughey as well. He does a bunch of these different characters and voices. And he's gotten to a point where he does it on Family Guy. So whenever they need like a Morgan Freeman sound-alike or a Morgan Freeman voice, they get him.
Yeah,
he did
exactly
Trump
right.
On Family Guy, you know, the big Trump episode that they did.
Yeah.
I love doing Trump. Is very, you know.
But you're right, and it's fascinating because I think Morgan Freeman is kind of almost the pinnacle for a lot of people. Josh Robert Thompson played Morgan Freeman in a series of commercials in the US, and the character was
more than Freeman,
apparently. But I just wanted to get your opinion here on Josh Robert Thompson. Let's see if this will play.
And sometimes I might bring my voice down like this.
Yeah.
And I'll start to talk like Morgan Freeman. And Morgan will talk like that, and he can talk about anything.
Really? Like the cadence is what sells it.
It really is. And it's exactly what you said there. You're breaking it down into those 3 stages to get to who you think Morgan Freeman is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a breathy voice. It is a deep kind of gravelly voice. There's a beautiful... He does it amazingly. Josh is a genius when it comes to impressions. He's on another level. I love the guy.
One of the things about being an impressionist is I think you kind of have to be funny, or you have to have the ability to use humor. And those are probably 2 different things. But you're also a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
You do shows here in Dubai. I think that takes real guts to do. But how scary is it?
I mean, I used to fly to Beirut.
You're an introvert. I am.
But here's the thing. Most introverts that I've met who are performers, when they're on stage, here's the misconception. You think that you're kind of in front of everyone, but it's the loneliest place in the world being on stage. And this with the spotlight. And you don't really see the audience you can't really focus a lot on the audience. You try to look, there's a trick so that you can beat stage fright, is to look kind of between audience members instead of looking at their faces. Because if you're going to look at faces and one of them's like, and you're like, oh, okay, and then you lose focus.
Makes sense.
You're screwed. But I was absolutely frightened the first few times I did comedy.
Right.
And I did it in a club that was like kind of this exclusive club where it was expensive, and it was, and they even suggested that I have a kind of like a drummer behind me to go boom, whenever I did a joke, or like play some music while I'm doing the jokes. I'm like, no, I need silence.
So you had the live boom tish.
Yeah, it was like those,
wow.
So I hate it. Like it was fun. It was a learning experience, but it was frightening. And the moment you start talking and the audience kind of resonates with you, you're set. Right. And you don't want to leave the stage. That's the fun part of comedy. It's very difficult to go and do the first step, but once you do it and you get a laugh, it's amazing. And my comedy is a bit risky. It's a bit different from what I do in terms of content, because that's kind of like when I'm on stage, it's a different personality. It's a different character. So yeah, when you're on stage, there's this beautiful fear that you get before you get on stage. But once you're there and you start and you do your first joke and you get the audience's reaction, you don't want to do anything else.
As long as you get a reaction.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a rule, you have to bomb, as they say. You have to bomb to appreciate when you get a laugh and to hone your skills. Those who come up and steal jokes from Twitter or from, these online jokes and go up and do them and get a cheap laugh, they'll never really find the joy in it.
Right. And
crafting your set, crafting your joke, crafting the way you say things, the way you pause. And I was also saying that my stand-up is a little different from what I do for content. It's a little riskier, a little crazier. I used to add some characters at the end of the set. And even when I got started the first time around, I was like, okay, let me just do voices. It'll be funny for everyone. I'll do some accents, voices, get a laugh. But then I was like, that's too easy. That's the easy way to get a laugh.
So you've got to challenge yourself.
Yes. Otherwise, you won't be good.
Right.
So you have to do that. And I completely cut out all the impressions and voices from my set. And sometimes people would recognize you and you're like, you're the guy who does the voices. And I'm like, yeah, but this is a little different.
This is going to be a different thing.
Yeah. So we go up on stage and you talk and and they're like, okay, now this is something else.
Right.
If he just did Mario and Luigi, it would have been funny. But I mean, he's actually doing something that's interesting. He's doing something that's risky.
What about the scene here in Dubai? I mean, you live here. You obviously know the scene here. What's it like being funny in front of people. Famously, Dubai has 200 different nationalities living here, different sense of humors, different points of view. How does that work? Or am I reading too much into it?
No. I mean, you have a point, because you have a cultural melting pot that's watching you. There's different perspectives in the world. But generally speaking, people who are going to see a comedy show are there with an open mind. They're there to listen to different perspectives and listen to different types of people. And you don't get... It's not like you get one type of comedian that goes up on stage. If you go into the comedy scene and watch some of these performers, even the open micers, even the fun ones, they bring so much to the table. There's different types of people going up, different types of comedians, different types of jokes. I think it's a great place to do comedy.
Okay.
It's fun. It's the audience is into it. That's what I've noticed, is that when I would go, they would laugh, they would help you. They're not aggressive, they're not hostile, because
they're not kind of set their arms crossed.
Yeah, they're not like making me laugh. Entertain me, boy.
Yeah.
They're not like that. No, they're very open and fun, and they're there to enjoy their night. They're there to listen to comics. So it's a very encouraging space for comedy, and comedy in Dubai is growing.
It's hugely growing. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first moved here, I did Comedy Central season 1. It's called Stand Up Al Waqif or some. I remember the name of the show. But I did a stand-up set, and I was trying to find places to do comedy in Dubai, and it was very few of them. Just a few theaters, a couple of bars or places like that. But nowadays, you can find it anywhere. You find them in Design District in One Life doing stand-up comedy. You find them in different hotels and different places. So it's very good that it's growing, and a lot more comics are coming out of the scene here.
Yeah, and to different standards as well, which is nice. I mean, people are bombing, and people are, growing and flourishing. You're in this sector, in this scene. This is something that you do. Do you worry about, artificial intelligence, or is there an impact from AI?
I think artificial intelligence plays a big role in the coming future of voiceovers, and there's no escaping it, really. We're going to get to a point where you sample your voice, and people will just pick your voice, pick the intonation, and they'll use it. But there's something that is not quite there yet. I don't know if they're going to solve it in the next couple of years, but there's still lack of humanity to it. Even the proper sites like 11 Labs, if you've heard of it.
I have, yeah.
11 Labs is insane. You can just... And nowadays, they're even building tools where you can kind of change the tone and intonation and pitch as you go along, or ask it to read it in a certain way, or do voice to voice. So you record it with your voice, and then it does it with a different voice, exactly the same. These are great tools to use for, pitching and fun and quick videos, giving access to people. But I don't think it's gonna completely take over. I think there's still room for that, human side of things, and the human tone.
It's very hard to put your finger on that. There are the obvious Android voices. There are the obvious voiceover, in inverted commas, voices that you hear on Instagram all the time, for example.
There's Adam in
exactly
11 Labs, voice. He's on everything.
Yeah, exactly right. But there's something that... It's very hard. The humanity, I don't even know what it is. It's hard to relate to if you're not sure that's a real person.
Exactly.
And I can't find a better way to put that. I need to work on my eloquence, that's for sure. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions, then I want to get slightly more philosophical with you. If you had to pick voiceovers, impersonating people, impressions, or comedy, what's the 1, 2, 3?
If I had to pick...
If you had to pick those, put them in order and choose your favorite, how would you do that?
I mean, I would put comedy first.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that partly the buzz of, is this going to work?
It's not just stand-up comedy. Comedy is not just defined by, one form or another. Okay. For me, comedy can be in the form of a illustrated comic strip, or it can be a video or some piece of content. But the aspect of comedy, joking around, having fun, writing jokes, the process of writing a joke, the process of thinking comedically and, hey, this is funny. There's small things in life that happen that are just hilarious and funny. I would put that first every time. And then I would probably go for impressions and then voiceovers, even though I love my work when it comes to voiceovers. But voiceovers translates more to commercials, getting a script ready that you can put in front of you and you read it in a certain way. You can put yourself in it. You can put your directorial experience or creative experience into it, but it's a script that's finite and preset for you. Impressions, you can really put your character in there. Make it your own, own it. What would Morgan Freeman say if he was in this situation? And that's where it's going to stem from you. It's not going to stem from just, what he would actually say. What would you make him say?
Sure.
What would you make Morgan Freeman say if you had his voice, essentially? And that's the funny part.
He doesn't just talk about Andy Dufresne, does he?
I think he just does that. I think right now at his age, it's like, Andy Dufresne. He just lost it completely.
Look, Ellie, one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is to talk to people, and we're talking to lots and lots of different people who are doing things maybe slightly differently, maybe doing them for the first time, a little bit like Aramex back in the day and still today. So that's kind of why you're here. So I want to pick your brains, get some of your, Ellie Iskandar wisdom, if we can dig deep. And talk about things that have maybe, reasons you've succeeded, whatever it is. And I've kind of picked out 3 questions for you. So if you'll go along with me, what's the one misconception about what you do that you wish more people understood?
I'm going to answer that in the sense of voiceovers.
Go on.
Not just because advertising, there's a lot of misconception that happens when it comes to, I'm also, a director. I come up with ads, ideas, concepts, writing, direct the thing.
A misconception's often a part of advertising. Yeah, sleight of hand. Understood.
They think it's automated, and when it comes to voiceovers, people think that it's just something that you can do very quickly and easily, and it's not really the case all of the time.
Right.
And it's not. And some people think it's just you put words in, and you export. You put in text, you input text, you export a voice. And not a lot of people know that there's a person behind the mic.
Wait, how often would you nail it in one take?
I would. Like I've been doing it for 20 years. I've gotten used to it. But it's the fun part of it is that you go on these recording sessions and there's like 15 people from the agency, and you're just waiting. You're like, okay, what am I gonna hear now? What kind of comment or feedback or direction am I getting at this point? Oftentimes, you end up doing 20 takes, and they end up going with the first take.
The early takes are generally the takes.
The most natural ones.
Yeah.
The ones where you get to be a little bit different in it. Okay. But then they come in and be like, okay, so maybe we try this. How about we do it like this? Maybe add a little more emotion to it. Make me feel like you are, I've done a video on this on my socials. And it really encompasses the process, because sometimes you take an hour-long session to do a line.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have a really good client who understands, he knows what he's doing. Let him do his thing. And you hit it, you nail it with one take.
Yeah. Okay. What inspires you? Because of all the guests we've had on the show.
Yeah.
Inspiration, I would put forward, is something that you must face constantly. It must almost be a battle, because you're continually doing new voices, new people, looking at things in different ways.
I mean, there's a lot of things that inspire me, but to put it simply, it's creativity itself.
Right.
Is, it's a bit of a philosophical answer, or a very dumb answer. I don't know, which one is it? Is it philosophical or dumb?
No, I think it's honest. To be honest with you, it's just the fact that you can start from here with nothing and end here with something.
That's the essence of it. Even with art in general, I was fascinated by the idea that you can take a pencil and a piece of paper and you can build a story, and you can, in my case, it was illustrations and characters, and you can make them do things, and you can put a couple of stacks of paper on top of each other and then move them and have this character move, and then you can add a voice to it. And that was fascinating, that you can create something essentially from nothing. So that's, when I say creativity, that's kind of where I would gravitate towards. And this is something that keeps me going and keeps me inspired. Like, I want to create more. I want to focus more on putting the energy out there. And this is something my mom and dad always used to encourage when I was a kid. And I started at a very early age, but at one point I was commissioned a sculpture project, and I was still in school. I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, and they took me out for a week. They spoke to the school and they took me out for a week, and they got me all this clay and all the tools that I needed, and we experimented, and they said, you need to let this energy out. You need to let this creativity out. And that's fascinating. I don't think any parent would do that, because we had tiles on the floor and they were just now full of clay, and I remember my mom having to clean them right after, but she's like, don't worry about it, just let it out, let that energy, let that creativity out, let those ideas out. And that was really inspiring.
That's cool, parents.
Yeah.
Final of the wisdom questions, Ellie. What's the most important thing you've learned, taking into account all the different areas you work in? They're interconnected, I get that, but they're all ever slightly different. What's the biggest lesson?
The biggest lesson that I've learned is to really trust yourself in the process.
Okay.
Trust instinct. It's surprising because we tend to think very logically, but if your instinct tells you something, there's a reason, I feel, for that. Like, there's something there's warning signs, there's something happening that you should trust. And I really truly believe that you should put the trust in yourself, put the investment in yourself, because it's silly to think about it that way, but if you are investing in yourself, it is worth, you should be able to trust that this investment is worth it. And it is, because it's not like you're investing in something else and you don't know how it's going to go. You know that you'll do your best if you really push yourself, and you can kind of focus on that. And I felt that this is something that I lacked on the first few years of my life, when I was, focusing more on the business side, or working for some company or growing somewhere, or trying to kind of make someone else happy, whether through work. There's a line that I'm going to say that really changed the way I think and my perspective, when a friend of mine told me, you're working to make someone else's dream come true. And that really hit me like a brick wall. I was like, that's very true. And it reminded me of a joke. I don't know if you know it, but the boss brings in his employee and he's like, look at this brand new Mercedes. Isn't it beautiful? And the guy's like, wow, it's amazing. And he's like, if you work really hard, put in the hours, do the weekends, next year I can get another one. So that, I was like, okay, wow, you should be working for yourself, and you should be focusing on yourself and really bettering yourself and putting yourself out there. And this is what I truly believe in. This is something that I learned a little later than I would have liked to.
That's a hell of a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. One more question for you, and this is the question that we ask everybody on this podcast, and I'm fascinated to know where you're going to go with this. What would you like to see happen, or change, or affect most in the world? It's kind of the world peace question, really. But what would you most like to unbox, and why would you like to do it?
I think you're going to know my answer, because it stems from creativity to me. It is a very personal thing, and I think people should be encouraged to try and be more creative. Don't be afraid of being creative. Nowadays, it's getting there, because now there's a way you can make videos with your phone, and it has, unboxed a lot of opportunities that we did not have before. beforehand, when you wanted to make a film, when you and I were growing up, you'd need to get a camera and a microphone and an editing software and a big computer and a bunch of stuff to do it. Now you can do it off of your phone. Now you can record a podcast on your phone. Now you can record whatever you want to do. You can draw. We have the tools, and it's opening up worlds of creativity. And I would like to see that embraced more often, even when it comes to, education, when it comes to growth. I always take my son, I'm like, let's have some crazy, creative, fun times. Let's create a story out of nothing. Tell me what you want the story to be about, and let's build it together. We end up drawing it together. We end up doing sculptures with clay. I like having that. I have a 6-year-old. He's even now he did his first voiceover commercial recently because he listens to me.
Why am I not surprised?
He listens to me recording. He did Pottery Barn very recently.
Wow.
And it was an amazing experience for him. Like, I can do this. Like, it's not limited, because when you learn that you get to be this, and that. These are the jobs that you'll get to do. Creativity opens a lot of doors that way. And I'd like to see that more frequently in everyday life and in education especially.
So it goes back to the lesson, really, doesn't it? You've got to back yourself.
Yes. Believe in it's silly it's cliche to say believe in yourself, but really believe in yourself. Yeah. Do it. Push that. You invest in yourself, and you can get there.
This time, it was Hearing is Believing, unboxed. Ellie Iskandar is someone who brings our favourite characters to life. He is a professional voice actor. He's an impressionist. You're a comedian. A jack of all trades in that respect. Ellie, love talking to you. Thank you for coming to join us.
It was an absolute pleasure, and thank you and Aramex for having me. It was really fun. It was insightful, and it was unlike any other interview that I've had. So this is really interesting. Thank you so much for your time.